And we're back with Think Local First Radio here on Santa Cruz Voice. Tam and I.
Here I am.
Oh, and
I'm
you want to introduce me? This is Susan O'Connor-Frazier on Think Local First, and in the studio with me is Jill Troderman. And Jill is with Santa Cruz Holistic Family Nutrition. So she's going to tell me what all the things I'm not doing right in my nutrition.
Oh boy, I can see it already.
Yeah. So Jill, welcome.
Hi there. Thank you for having me.
Let me see how we're doing over here. So, Jill, tell me your life journey. How did you end up to be a certified holistic nutritionist and nutrition educator here in Santa Cruz?
Thank you. I started my journey after I had my own kids, and when they were of the age to play Little League, I started to notice some family infighting about food and nutrition, and I decided to take a deep dive into that path so I could teach my children how to eat well and take the fighting element out of it. Mm-hmm. And that is what led me to this path of teaching holistic nutrition to families.
I can see that families all over the county are going, how did you do that to get your kids to... I mean, I'm always impressed, actually, with how much better I see kids eating today than what we did with our kids. Because right. we ended up doing a lot of fast food and, probably everything wrong. So when you were a teacher as well, you were an educator, you kind of went to school for that. And how has that, tell me about your teaching work as well.
Okay, so I have a degree in psychology, and I spent the first few years of my life working with adolescents in juvenile lockdown facilities. So serious group homes with 40 kids, pregnant teenagers with severely emotionally disturbed personalities and addictions. So I really was immersed in the field of dysfunctional kids. Like, these children really had a tough life. So I got some serious background on that, and then I started to work in preschools, and then I had my own kids. I really wanted to do right by them, so that's when I had my own family, and eventually I went to nutrition school after I had taught in the Montessori school district, and I started to teach nutrition here in Santa Cruz County in lots of schools. I'm sure lots of parents out there have had their kids in my classes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So tell me about holistic family nutrition. What are all of the different components? Because, you've shown us some, you have a book, you've got product, you have medicinal teas, and then you do nutrition counseling or consulting too. So give me the whole lowdown as if I had no idea who you were.
Perfect. So the core of my business as a nutritionist is doing nutrition counseling. So I work one-on-one with families. I also work with older kids, college-age children. That's kind of like a favorite age group of mine because I feel like those kids are getting ready to launch into the real world. And I have found that kids want to learn what's right. They get angry with their parents when they're adults, when they have onset of different diseases. So I do nutrition counseling with kids and families. I also, like I mentioned, teach in schools. I just taught at a private school here in Santa Cruz at the Acton Academy. And then I am a little bit of a chronic entrepreneur. So I like to make things that my clients can use. So in addition to doing my counseling, like I mentioned, I do teaching. And I also created a line of medicinal teas. And that's really just a fun thing for me. I almost want to say it's a hobby. I don't necessarily sell it in the marketplace. Maybe a couple stores sell my products. But I really like to empower people on how to do it themselves. So I'm not the kind of nutritionist who's going to give you a meal plan for the rest of your life and that you're going to listen to me. One of my mottos is educate, empower, and inspire people, because I feel like, just like that motto of you can teach a person to fish or you can give them a fish. So I'd rather teach people how to fish. And it creates a long-lasting empowerment that people are craving. Hundreds of years ago, we didn't have the novelty of all these foods to choose from. Most people, 90% of all people lived on farms, and we grew our own food, and then we shared with our neighbors. And we're very detached right now from our natural food system. We often don't grow our own food. Most people don't. In fact, 90% of all our food that we eat comes from packages.
Right.
And right now, it's even worse than packaged foods. It's ultra-processed packaged foods. So the food companies are quite brilliant in their science because they can incorporate a lot of these additives and highly addictive foods into their products. So I like to do real education, especially with the kids. Like I mentioned, I have a thing. I actually make some posters, and one of my themes is nutrition vampires.
Huh.
And so I have a whole list. I don't know if you want to open this up, and
Sure.
we could read from this list, but it's a scary list of things. And I almost feel like, yeah, if we can eliminate these foods from our diet, I think most people would be a lot healthier than they are. But Tam is opening a poster that I make. So I'll read from it. Things that I like to avoid. These are my 9 nutrition vampires are artificial colors, artificial flavors, artificial sugars, which would be aspartame, NutraSweet, artificial sugars, preservatives, hydrogenated oils, GMOs, pesticides. And then even our water might have chlorine and other things like fluoride that we should avoid too. So I do all of these different things in the quest to help turn people on to that's not that complicated really to eat healthy. And I like to actually focus more on the positive stuff because it's more fun.
Right.
It tastes better.
Yeah, we just watched a movie called Unfrosted, and it's the story of the race to get Pop-Tarts made between Kellogg's and Post cereal. And
It is a comedy.
It is a comedy, and it was fun and silly at the same time. But, looking at the different ingredients that they put into, our breakfast cereals and, as well as Pop-Tarts.
I know, and if my mom is listening, thank you, Mom, but I was raised on Pop-Tarts and Twinkies. And my kids laugh because I did have a diet of junk food, and I won't say the names on the air, but we were now we all eat really well, but we were just in a hotel, and in their breakfast area, they still offer Fruit Loops. So I brought in a package, and the whole thing is like junk. So it's really not food. Sometimes it's hard to eat out with me. I might not be fun, but...
Well, our daughter's challenging, too, because she's allergic to just about everything, but garlic is the big thing she's allergic to. And you go out to any... restaurant, and she loves Italian food, but trying to get an Italian dish without garlic is kind of challenging.
That is, and I feel for those people for sure.
So, how do people find you? I mean, you went for your consulting part of your business. I mean, how are they coming to you, and what are their biggest questions or reason they come to you?
Yeah, people find me from all over the country now. I work with people all over on Zoom. People can go to my website, which is SantaCruzHolisticNutrition.com. That's a good place to find me. My email is on there, my phone number. People can contact me that way. I have blogs that I put out. Facebook, Holistic Family Nutrition is my Facebook address. So, yeah, people can find me that way, and I offer one-on-one counseling services. So if you just want to come in for a checkup, essentially, and see where you are, I evaluate people's diet. So I have people do a food journal for 5 days, which I know is like the most resistant thing. Nobody wants to confess me. I'm like the priest. And they like, don't tell anyone but me. But I'm a human too. Sometimes I would like to call myself the naughty nutritionist because I do like cookies too.
Yes.
And
thank goodness.
Yeah. So people can find me all those ways. And speaking on that, when my younger son was quite young, I had taught them all of these things about hydrogenated oil and all these things. And I would just let my kids decide what they wanted to eat. Essentially. I mean, based within reason, right? Because they were educated. So we got ice cream cones, and I was like, oh, no, I think maybe we should check the ingredients. Perhaps this might have hydrogenated oil in it, which is a real big indicator for cancer, heart disease. And in fact, it's been banned on the FDA list, but it's still in circulation. Well, anyways, this was many years ago. So I told my son, I'm like, maybe we want to ask the ice cream man. And he's like, no, I don't think we should, Mom, no. And I'm like, well, I'm going to ask just for my own self. And I found out, and he's like, all right. So he went and found out that it did have some of these nutrition vampires in it. And he went out all by himself and threw it away in the garbage can. And it was really a sad moment for a little kid to throw his ice cream away. But it's not a punitive thing because we went out and then found a better ice cream, a better quality ice cream.
Interesting.
So we can eat sweets and treats and enjoy our lives, but with healthy ingredients. So you can get healthy sugar and healthy cream and healthy dairy that doesn't have all these pesticides and other harmful ingredients. Mm-hmm. So it's not complicated.
It sounds complicated.
It sounds complicated.
It's not that complicated.
we this year. I mean, but was it last year? We introduced more fish in our diet, because you hear all about the Mediterranean diet being so good for you, and we definitely didn't, even though we live, right here, with where fishermen are coming in and bringing in their catch and stuff, we weren't eating enough fish, so we introduced that, and some weeks we'll have fish 3 times a week, and sometimes it's not that often, but so is every program, you say you have people fill out a food diary, is it the same program for everybody that you're recommending, or do you tweak it for the fact that one person might be a working mom and one person might be a stay-at-home mom and can cook, or maybe a stay-at-home dad, how customized are your meal plans or whatever?
I am as customized as you are a unique individual. So another motto I have is create a diet as unique as you. Mm. So everybody has their own makeup, their own habits, their own wherever you live. If you live in a temperate climate, a cold climate, that's all going to factor into what you're eating. Mm-hmm. So I created a program based on what I was sharing with you about going to nutrition school called the Food Tree. And the food tree is based on the tree. So we have the roots of the tree represent protein foods. The trunk of the tree represents whole grains. Mm. The fats of the tree are the branches that reach to all parts of the tree, just like fats do in our body. And then the leaves represent vegetables, and the fruits are the fruits. So I teach the kids that you can't have a tree without proteins. So I recommend 5 proteins a day, and that could be animal-based or plant-based. So I don't advocate for any certain vegan diet or vegetarian. I don't get caught up in all that. I'm really about the quality of the food. I'm advocating for whole foods, local, homegrown, homemade. Taking the corporations out of our food system is where I'm coming from. Mm-hmm. So basically, I teach the kids that if they're eating all of their food groups and their healthy grains, their whole grains, their healthy fats, that they're shiny as a healthy leaf would be on a tree. So it's sort of a metaphor for yourself. So we all know what a healthy tree looks like compared to an unhealthy tree. And a healthy tree is vibrant enough to produce fruit. So just like a healthy person, if you eat enough and you take care of yourself, you are abundant enough to give back to the world. So you can be a good community member and a good contributor to your family. So it's a selfish, selfless act to take care of yourself. So that's one of the things that I really advocate for is homegrown, cooking our own meals, eating out less, unless we're eating at the really good restaurants here in Santa Cruz, and we're getting organic food and all that kind of stuff. So that's the program I teach. It's called The Food Tree. And a few years ago, I wrote a book called The Food Tree Holistic Nutrition and Wellness Curriculum. And that expands a little bit on the food-based part of it. And I also incorporate mindfulness activities, like meditation and grounding into the earth, taking your shoes off and walking barefoot. And there's a lot of science that corroborates that really can give us negative ions, which helps with reducing your oxidative stress in your body, including hugging trees, actually.
Well, this sounds, I want to know more, and we need to go to commercial break, and when we come back, we'll hear more about Jill's book and her philosophy here on mind, body, and soul approach to teaching kids how to eat well and be healthy. I think probably the same things would pertain to adults. This is Susan O'Connor Fraser with Tam O'Connor Fraser on Think Local First Radio here on Santa Cruz Voice. We're going to go to commercial and we'll be back for some more, so stay tuned.
Was spending around $70 a month, $70 on prescription drugs. She went online and saved a bunch. And with the extra money, every month, Beth buys supplies to expand her business.
90% of all prescriptions are covered. Check for yours at monthlyfeerx.com. Never again overpay for your meds. Monthlyfeerx.com. Get all your meds for one small monthly fee, rx.com.
Hi, folks. How many of you out there love to garden? Wouldn't it be nice to grow some of your own food? Or maybe a flower garden would brighten your day. Well, now you can have the pleasures of gardening without all that effort. You don't need a tractor. You don't need a rototiller. All you need is the Knox Garden Box, a heavily constructed, portable, elevated garden on legs that can virtually change the way you've gardened in the past. The Knox Garden Box can be set up anywhere. Yes, you can place it right on concrete. For those with bad backs, you've got critters and gophers, no space or maybe no dirt. With the Knox Garden Box, the therapy of garden is now the prescription for good mental health. The way to find your fabulous Knox Garden Box is by logging on to knoxgardenbox.com. That's KNOX, gardenbox.com. Or by calling 831-461-9430.
The votes are in. Chef Ben here from Back 9 Grill and Bar at the Easy Off Past Tempo exit. We are so proud of our food and our service and your votes. Back 9 has been voted Santa Cruz County's best burger and best happy hour in the good times. You've heard me talking about our house ground burgers. It's time for you to come and try one so you can taste the juicy difference. And what makes our happy hour the best? You have to come and experience it yourself. See you at the 9.
Hello and welcome back. Chef Ben talking about his burger. I'm hungry.
I know. Of all the times to be talking about nutrition, and we're like sitting here lunchless. And figure out, okay, where we're going to go for lunch.
So your book, it's not War and Peace, but it's
pretty. It's
got a lot of stuff. So tell me about how your book's being received.
Oh, it's terrific. I'm a big fan, of course, because I wrote it, but it's not all my stuff. Like, I'm really just a deliverer of this message. Mm-hmm. I put this book together to share with other teachers and physicians, counselors, sports coaches, clergy, anyone, families can use this book. So each of the chapters is set up based on the 5 food groups. And then a teacher, whether you're in first grade, fifth, or high school, could use it because it's set up with foundational lessons, discovery lessons, and comprehensive lessons. So those would get more into the science. For instance, in the proteins, I dive deep into amino acids and how we categorize amino acids. Or in the fats section, we talk about the different fatty acids and how those are molecularly structured. So a teacher of young students can really dive deep into the foundation of what the basic food groups are. And, any age people could use it. And also the fun things about this book that I have in it are scientific experiments, how to use plant dyes to dye clothes.
Interesting.
All kinds of different things, physical activities, things like that. So it's pretty comprehensive.
Well, you talked about it being kind of a holistic thing, so it's not just about nutrition. It's about all kinds of things to really, feed your body and your soul.
It's true, because we're not just mindless eaters. We're a very complex organism. So some of us might geek out more on the science part. Some people are more athletic. But I do believe incorporating all 3 of those aspects into ourselves can create a really healthy whole person.
So tell me about the Soquel Homesteaders Market, that you have. It's coming up. Are they on the second and fourth Saturdays of the month?
Yes, this is a really exciting project that we're doing. It sort of stemmed out of, I did 2 music festivals during the COVID time because I needed to have some fun and wanted to make sure us Santa Cruz folk kept together. So we did those. But we wanted to create a more continual event, so we're doing it on this market every second and fourth Saturdays, like you mentioned. It's at 2505 South Main Street, which is right across from Beer 30, right in Soquel off of Highway 1. And, these are so cute. We've got about 25 vendors, a food truck, a lot of food will be there, plus craft people, some spiritual folk, if you want to get your tarot cards read or get a chair massage. And we find that this is a really sweet way to bring our community together to share in the good times that we have. Community is so important for mental health.
So it's more than a farmer's market, which you see pop up from, Cabrillo to Scotts Valley. This is, you call it a homesteaders market. Why homesteaders market?
Well, Susan, I'm a wannabe homesteader, you could say. My parents come from New York, city dwellers, and ironically, my brother and I both live on big pieces of property. But I like the homesteader aspect again because it brings back the empowerment to us people that we can depend on each other and ourselves for things. So a lot of the folks that are coming to our market are raising their own eggs, raising their own beef, making their own wool. For instance, we have a lady who raises sheep and she spins wool. In fact, this upcoming market, tomorrow on Saturday, she will be bringing her spinning wheel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's really amazing to see all of these old things that are just on the verge of disappearing from our memory on how to do things. We want to bring those back. And apparently it's very trendy right now in the young people that they really want to learn these crafts, knitting and how to make jams and jellies and all that kind of stuff. So those are the folks that we're attracting. Like we have people who have bees and they have their own honey and all that kind of stuff. So to me, a thriving community is a resilient community when we're educated on how to do these, you might call pioneer activities.
So considering where we're located, in the berry basket of the world, as they say, and, you think of all the farms in South County or North County, it seems like this is a prime place for something like what you're doing here. How much do the local growers, factor into not only the homesteaders market, but, overall you were talking about eating local, which of course, feeds right into think local first. But
Exactly.
Why is it important? And we're just so fortunate to have such, bounties of locally grown, a lot of organic food. But why is it important to eat local?
It couldn't be more important to eat local for so many different reasons, from the antioxidant level in the fruits and vegetables. So we know upon picking, your food starts to degrade nutritionally. So that's important. Getting to know your farmer is important. It's also great for the environment. We're not flying food around the planet. So one of my things is eat in season. So not to eat grapes in the middle of winter when they're coming from Chile or something like that. Also, it's fun to grow your own food and eat locally. So often my friends and I will share food. If I have extra lemons and they have extra pears, we share food. So it builds community. So there's many, many factors in why eating locally is important.
How about organically? Why is organic food? You had mentioned earlier, and I've heard this term, ultra processed food, and I don't know. It's probably on the spectrum of organic. That's probably at the other end of that spectrum.
Yeah, it's not even on the chart. It's ultra processed foods are foods that are factory made foods that are infused with a lot of preservatives and fillers and agents that stimulate the brain to crave more food. So we have hormones in our body, leptin and ghrelin, that creates hunger, or it creates a signal that we are full. So these ultra-processed foods override our brain, creating stimulation to make us desire more. It's like an addiction quality. So these highly addictive foods like aspartame and MSG, monosodium glutamate, which is an isolated protein. When they isolate these things, they become brain stimulants, and they activate our pleasure centers. So even though we physically might be full, our brain tells us more, more, more. So that's why these are really dangerous. And the obesity epidemic is off the charts right now, where 1 in 6 kids is obese. And we know that obese children and obese adolescents have an 80% chance of becoming obese adults. Mm-hmm. And there's just nothing good about that. You know, I know we don't want to fat shame and all that stuff, but the truth of it is we should have compassion for our people and really advocate for our governments and our society to take these addictive foods out of the marketplace.
I mean, it sounds as bad as cigarettes almost, you know, and as you're talking about it and the kinds of dangers that cigarettes pose to us, I mean, do we even know the long-term effects of these ultra-processed foods if it's affecting our brain in that way?
Well, we do. Scientists are discovering that these foods cause hypertension, they cause cancer, mood disorders, depression. So there are a lot of links to really bad health outcomes.
So if I say, okay, Jill, you know, help.
Yes.
What would you do? What would be the first things of us working together for me to become a healthier person?
Well, I would start with where you are. I would look at your whole diet, like I mentioned, and then I would encourage you to shop in a different format, perhaps on the perimeter, as people might say. One of the things that most people are missing are vegetables. So I would encourage you to add a lot of things that you might enjoy and slowly start taking away things that aren't good for you. So it would be a slow process because diets don't work. So I would just tell the person that we're going to create a healthy lifestyle and a healthy diet. So it could be
healthy diet, little d. Diet.
Healthy diet, little d. Yeah, diet is not good, right? Because that has like a bad connotation, even with the prefix of the word. So my thing would be adding vegetables and encouraging you to cook more at home. Seeing what style of foods you like. Do you like Italian, Mexican, that kind of thing? So you enjoy the process. It's really important that the people enjoy what they're doing and it's not punitive, that it's exciting. And one of the things I teach people is to gather your nutrients. So for me, when I'm creating a meal, I'm excited about what am I going to add to my meal that's going to even make it more robust with nutrition.
So what might some of those things be? Go into this theater of the mind and tell me what you would be cooking that would be and that you're excited about adding things to.
Very good. So normally I do have vegetables or some sort of a savory meal, but the other day we were traveling and I had oatmeal on my brain. So I did make myself some oatmeal and I just kept adding things to that. Nuts and seeds and coconut flakes, some soy milk on top and blueberries and some cinnamon. And so all of these things are highly nutritive. So when I'm eating, everything is good for me. I'm not afraid of my food. I'm excited to eat it because I know it's going to be good for me. So I want people to really get excited about what they're eating and not have food fear.
So how hard is it to do that and then, but also be traveling, you know, because that seems like that would be one of the challenges, especially it's like, I'm on vacation, I can eat anything I want, or just the fact that you're not, you know, it's, if you're not cooking at home and are cooking in a condo or something when you're on vacation, you know, how do you do that eating at restaurants?
Yeah, traveling is definitely tricky, straight up. It depends on where you are. We were just in Boulder, so that's an impressive town to eat in because they have a lot of really good food. That's a little bit trickier. It is. I'd say scope out where the natural health food stores are and some of the higher quality food restaurants before you even go on your trip. And you can even pack snacks. You could pack nuts and seeds so you can have emergency foods. So if you get hungry, then you can have something healthy for yourself.
So is that what you got? What you? I don't know how old are your kids now?
Well, they're grown. They're in their mid and late 20s.
They're ready to start their own families.
Yeah, 26 and 29.
I'm kind of curious about seasonals, the seasons. So, like during the winter, do you eat things that are heavier? During the summer, you're eating lighter. Is that something that's been processed with a lot of different studies?
I think that is, yes. Especially that we live in a moderate climate here. We do get cold, so the body naturally wants to slow down. So eating richer, warmer foods, the squashes are really healthy. That's why you wouldn't necessarily crave watermelon in January.
Right.
That's going to be cold and chilling. So psychologically, our bodies do crave those foods. But if you were in Mexico, you would definitely want to be eating some salsas and guacamole and tomatoes and that kind of stuff.
Well, it's like if you go, okay, let's say you're one of those people that likes to go, during the winter, I like to go to Lake Tahoe, but some people like to go to Hawaii.
Right.
So you go to Hawaii, you're not going to eat what you would probably eat if you're in Lake Tahoe. Mm-hmm. So it just seems like based on our current lifestyles, where we can travel anywhere throughout the world, is that if you were a homesteader and you lived in, let's say, all you did was live in California, Northern California, and then or an area where you have numerous seasons, 3 or 4 different seasons, then seems like your food intake would change.
Yeah, I suppose it would trick your body a little bit if you're bi-coastal and traveling around a lot. So I suppose you would just have to listen to yourself.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I do teach the kids is to be intuitive. So think before you eat. What's your feeling? Are you craving vitamin C? Do you need an orange or some lemon juice? Or do you need something more grounding, like a healthy fat? And you might want to have some avocado or a salad with some really rich dressing. So I think sometimes we don't listen to ourselves and we don't take that time to figure out what are we missing in our diet. And if we are flying to Hawaii, maybe you do want some papaya and pineapple instead of oatmeal, because it's going to be hot out and you want something lighter that's going to digest more rapidly.
Now, do you also, let's see, how are we doing? I was thinking about, as the boomers are starting to slide upwards in terms of how my diet when I was in my 20s is certainly different now that I'm in my 60s. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately what happens is if you partake of certain types of things like nuts, like a lot of nuts, all of a sudden you're eating a lot of nuts more, because you wanted to follow the Mediterranean diet, and all of a sudden you get gallstones from those eating so much nuts.
Right.
How does your body, how do you deal with the aging? Those of us that are aging.
Yeah, that's a big question too. So when you speak on that, I would say to be mindful of your digestive enzymes. Like, how's your digestion working? Are you having enough fiber in your diet? Are you drinking enough water? Do you need more probiotics? So a lot of these foods can help us digest. Even things like licorice root is good, or bitters. Adding bitters to our diet as we age is really important because that will help stimulate protein digestion. And these are things that our ancestors did, or even my grandparents did. They would have all these condiments on the table, bitters and different things that we don't really have anymore. So I would pay attention to your digestion. That's a really good indicator for health. If you're having good digestive motility, then you're good to go. But if you're not, that's something to be mindful of.
I always, when you think about that, I remember being a youngster and always hearing about prune juice for older folks.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah.
Well, we're coming up on our second break here on Santa Cruz Voice. This is Think Local First. This is Susan O'Connor-Fraser with her co-host, Tam O'Connor-Fraser. And we're in the studio today with Jill Troderman from Holistic Family Nutrition here in Santa Cruz. And so please stay tuned while we hear some special words from our sponsors.
When you need help managing the legal affairs of your family, call on the Angel.
Hello, I am attorney Angel Hess, and I am ready to help. Whether you need a prenuptial agreement or divorce settlement, need child or spousal support, or are facing custody issues or visitation rights, I will help you. I have more than 7 years' experience as a family law attorney.
When you need help, call on the Angel. Attorney Angel L. Hess at SantaCruzLegal.net.
For ag and industrial real estate, call Chuck Allen. Chuck Allen is a lifelong resident of the Pajaro Valley, a friend of everybody, and has closed so many real estate transactions, the Wall Street Journal and Keller Williams both list him as one of the nation's top producers. So for ag and industrial real estate, call the top realtor, Chuck Allen, at chuckallenproperties.com. chuckallenproperties.com.
Hello, I'm Carolyn. 25 years ago, my husband Rudy and I opened Charlie Hong Kong with the commitment to serve healthy food grown in healthy soil. Today, the healthy food we serve comes from the sacred land in Pajaro Valley, where Dick Peugeot and his Lakeside Organics grow the soil, and the soil grows the healthy plant that we serve to you. When you eat at Charlie Hong Kong, you eat healthy food, and it's delicious. Charlie Hong Kong, Santa Cruz.
You never get a second chance to make a good first impression. When you want to make a good first impression, start with Dynamic Press Angelo.
Dynamic Press can take care of every printing need, from business cards to stationery, apparel, mailings, brochures, everything but money.
When you want to make a good first impression, start with Dynamic Press in Santa Cruz.
479-7920. DynamicPress.com.
Hello and welcome back to Santa Cruz Voice. This is Susan O'Connor Fraser.
And Tam O'Connor Fraser.
Yes.
Or Fraser.
Or Fraser.
That's what I'm starting to learn.
We were saying in the first hour we're in the 7th season of Outlander.
She got me hooked.
Well, I've already been through the whole thing, and so we're coming around again. So considering we're O'Connor Fraser, and Jamie Fraser and Claire Fraser, so we're big fans. We're here with Jill Troderman, like I said, with Santa Cruz Holistic Family Nutrition, and she's really focused and has been a long time on making sure that anyone she comes in contact with learns how to eat right and feel better, look better, all the benefits of eating better. And then on top of that, all the other things that are important to a healthy life. So, Jill, we talked a little bit about the Soquel Homesteaders Market happening tomorrow at in Soquel, across the street from Beer 30, or, since I'm hungry, Carpo's. And you were mentioning something about Carpo's. You were mentioning something about gray bears. What's going on there?
Yes, I got turned on to gray bears a few years ago, and they have a program where they distribute food to people. On Fridays today, my partner Diane, who works with me on the Homesteaders Market, typically on Fridays we go for nonprofits and organizations like ourselves. The big food companies, big grocery stores drop off all their extra produce, and Santa Cruz nonprofits can go and take that food before gray bears compost it.
Oh, wow.
And so they open up this parking lot, and it is really quite mind-blowing. They stack these pallets to the sky of all this food. A lot of it's organic, fresh, just picked broccoli, kale, Brussels sprouts, all kinds of food you could possibly imagine. And you have about an hour to take the food. And if you don't take it, it all goes into the composter.
Oh,
like literally on a conveyor belt.
And this is just not for individuals? This is just for nonprofit organizations?
They have an amazing program for individuals. So I do believe anybody in the community can go for lunch. They have a massive amount of food. I can't exactly say what days and times they do that. But I do know they have a 55 and over program where you can get a bag of groceries once a week for $1 a week, essentially.
Wow.
Or even less. And it's mostly organic, beautiful stuff that we would get in the parking lot, but it's consolidated really for one person or a couple or whatever in a grocery bag. But my friend and I, we go on Fridays and we get as much as we can carry in our cars, and then we give it away at what we call our gleaners table for free. So it's a real big joy to give out free bundles of kale and boxes of arugula and bok choy and all kinds of food you could imagine. And people just take it. Maybe they'll leave us a little donation for our time and effort. But essentially, it's for free. And back in the day, they had a program in Europe called the Gleaners, where poorer people would go and glean from fields that were already harvested. So oftentimes there's like damaged goods, damaged potatoes, and the poor folks would go. So that's what we're essentially doing, mimicking that program of essentially rescuing this food that would be destined for the animals or the compost pile, and we're giving it another life. And honestly, a lot of the food is fresh and ready to go. Like, we had hundreds of boxes of Driscoll strawberries.
Interesting.
And we know how much those boxes of Driscoll strawberries cost.
Yes,
Right.
Yeah.
And so maybe there was like one rotten one and the rest were perfectly gorgeous. And it's really exciting to take that food. And so that's what we do at Gray Bears.
Now, you do that on Friday, and then you distribute it at your Saturday homesteaders market.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I never knew this about Gray Bears, and which to me is an amazing organization. Even without this, we have taken all kinds of things there to be recycled.
Lots of stuff there.
Yeah. But I also saw somewhere on your website that you've worked with Second Harvest Food Bank. So how does Second Harvest and is there a relationship there with Gray Bears, or they're just two organizations helping the community separately, or do you know? Well, you can say no. I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. I did teach at Second Harvest Food Bank. I did free nutrition education classes for a little bit. I don't know exactly their relationship, but they do work together. I don't know if Gray Bears gives Second Harvest food. I think that's how it goes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've done some work in our day jobs, which at TAM Communications, we've done some work with Second Harvest to help them get the word out of all their amazing programs. And I know that teaching that nutrition classes and meal planning is something that they're also focused on down there. So
yeah, we're very blessed in town with these great organizations.
Yes, I mean, people don't realize that a Second Harvest Food Bank of Santa Cruz County was actually like the second food bank in the country.
Wow.
I know. It's just crazy, that we learn so much by... I love doing this job because I learn something new at least every Friday, but usually every day. But also in our work, that's to learn things like that of, how... how the longevity of that organization and the number of people that get fed with, like you say, really good organic food, along with packaged foods, what they, that people can pick up, like pastas and sauces and things like that. But they're the benefactors too of so many of our organic growers, and whether it's the egg farmer or the vegetable farmer, or fruit provider.
It's true, and a lot of it, there's an abundance of food.
Right.
Like on our planet, there is plenty of food for everybody. It's a distribution issue, and that's what we're finding. So. Just the few folks that go to the Gray Bears on Friday, we must give away food for hundreds.
Oh my gosh!
So it's kind of exciting to do that. But I don't know how to distribute that to the rest of the country, or to encourage other states that grow their own food to have these similar programs, because it is unique, and we're very blessed.
You mentioned that you came from New York. Are you from New York City?
Well, my folks are from New York City. I'm from New Jersey. Did a little time in Arizona. Yeah, I got 10 years desert. Loved that, being in the sun, growing up swimming. I had a really nice, healthy lifestyle, childhood. It was great.
And it's a dry heat.
It's a dry heat. Yeah. Found our way up here to Northern California and raised my family here.
So one of the challenges that people have in eating right is that a lot of people live in food deserts.
Right.
Where they don't have access like we do, either through our nonprofits or even our supermarkets to, such healthy, fresh food.
Right.
What advice do you give people when they don't have that access? I mean, one of the things I think that, years ago we did a project with the Sacred Heart Community Services, and it really opened my eyes to some of the challenges that the working poor especially have, because they may be working two jobs, they may not have cars, so they're on public transportation, And on top of that, they live in a food desert.
That's why they go to McDonald's, is because it's quick and
easy, and the mom or dad is tired at the end of the day. You know?
Right. And it's all subsidized, all that junk food, by the government. It's a quandary, isn't it?
Yeah.
I buy a lot of my food in bulk, so I'll buy big giant bags of beans and rice, and that's actually an affordable way for people. But they have to have the awareness to buy big bags of food, cook it, freeze it, so they can make quick and easy meals. I'm not saying that's easy for the double worker who has 3 kids. It's really a challenge. Incorporating, maybe getting together with your family and friends and cooking a lot of food together, and then freezing is a really great option, I'd say. And the other thing is to try to grow your own food as limited of space you might have. You can grow carrots, beets, and greens pretty easily. And even things like sprouts. I know that might seem like a fancy thing for poorer folk to do, but you can get fresh greens that way. Mm-hmm. So you just have to be savvy about it. And people have to be motivated. There has to be some kind of conscious awareness that they're going to take some time to cook.
Are populations in urban centers like New York City kind of becoming more aware or learning more about how they can incorporate that, even though they're nowhere near, our wonderful, farms that we have here, of how to, are there, neighborhood, gardens and things like that?
Exactly. That's like a brilliant idea. Neighborhood gardens. In colder climates, you could do greenhouse growing. There's no short reason you couldn't grow bananas in a greenhouse in Minnesota. Food co-ops you could participate in. Rooftop gardens, hydroponics.
I was looking at this where they're doing vertical farming, and it's probably not very cost effective yet, right. But it just was really interesting to see how, in more of a warehouse setting even that you could do, or like greenhouse setting, you can grow without as much land as, that typical farming might take. Right. So that, talk about your medicinal tea blends, again, getting back to, Outlander, they're always she's always making some tea of some kind.
Yeah, I know. I'm a big fan of that show, and Claire, she's a great medicine woman.
Yes.
And then butchering meat, and I was like, yeah, who knows how to render fat? I don't. If I had a pig, I would just bring them in and probably cuddle them up. I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't cut them up. I wouldn't
be eating bacon anymore if I had a pig.
I would be lost on this Outlander set, but. Yeah, like the teas are another great way to get nutrition into you. So these herbal blends are infused with minerals and phytonutrients and a lot of chemistry that helps with hormone balance, blood sugar balance, all of those things. So I make a lot of teas that don't sound like fun, like liver detox or digestive bliss or migraine melt away, PMS blend.
Those all actually sound very wonderful.
Be careful what you get your wife. Right? Here's some migraine tea and PMS tea, honey. But
are you selling those teas, or is it I look on your website and I see kind of all the ingredients that might be in something for wellness or relaxation or stuff like that? Are you just giving advice to people on take these ingredients and make a tea?
No, I actually make the tea blends. I have little packages. I brought you in a sample. The one I have right here is called Sweet Dreams. So I do sell them for $10. I'll be selling them at my market tomorrow. And yeah, for our market, all of our food vendors have permits. So everybody has to have a food cottage permit, which we all do. So I will be selling my teas tomorrow. You can order from me on my website. I also do custom blends, but often I just like to give them and share them with my clients.
Right.
Because these are easy ways to adjust things in people's lives, to take that edge off so they can feel better instantly. And then when you feel better instantly, you can start to make better decisions for yourself. I also am a big fan of supplements. So I do have a whole range of supplements that I share with my clients as well. Everything from common things like vitamin C and zinc to amino acids for hormone balance, for female issues, sleep, depression, all that kind of stuff can be really easily remedied with nutraceuticals. And I also have to qualify that I'm not a doctor, so I don't treat, cure, diagnose, or heal. but I do share lots of information.
So do you, what would you say is the number one problem or that needs to get solved in order for us to eat healthier?
Well, mental health really comes to my mind. I think people are not happy.
That's true.
In their life. And so we have to take a look at that. Why are we sad as a society? Are we working too much? Are things imbalanced?
Seems like a lot of anger out there.
Yeah, a lot
now.
of anger. So find more joy in your life. Maybe simplify your world. What's important? What's not important? And take out that and add the other stuff. Like maybe buy less stuff and have better interactions with human beings. Get off, like with the kids, with the cell phones and that kind of thing. That's not necessarily related to food, but I think we are out of touch with reality. We're out of touch with our natural world, of which we are all connected to.
Right.
And we're connected to each other. And in fact, it's important that we take care of each other because studies do show now that if you have stress in your life, that actually emanates out into the force field, and other people can actually pick up your stress hormones.
I bet.
And you can pick up other people's stress hormones and their bad bacteria in their gut that kind of gets out there in the universe. So we are almost infecting each other. So that's why I tell the kids, which is my favorite population to work with, is it's not selfish to take care of yourself. It's almost imperative for our society going forward that we really make it a priority to take care of our individual selves, so then you can take care of your family unit, and then you can take care of your community, and then out into the bigger world.
That's all good. The one caution I have to say about eating it or cooking at home is that you actually get to the point that you go, why should I eat out? It's so much better at home. Right? Why am I going to go sit in a restaurant and get something? And so that's one of the things we go through. It's like, we eat out a lot less. And it's not because of money. It's not because of time. It's just because what we cook at home is so good.
But we do have an ability to, by cooking at home, because we don't have to travel over the hill every day.
Right.
And so it's just easier because we're home all the time.
Right.
So we work out of our home, and so it's just easier to cook at home.
Right.
So we're down to our last 90 seconds here. How, again, people to get a hold of Jill Troderman and, maybe learn what she might have to say about eating better. How do they get a hold of you?
You can go to my website, SantaCruzHolisticNutrition.com. You can email me, jill@jilltroderman.com. And my number is 831-239-1021. Come find us at the SoCal Homesteaders Market tomorrow, May 11th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And I am available and here to serve. So hit me up, and all my best to the Santa Cruz community.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So in our last 30 seconds, I don't even know who's on next week. This is kind of sad. It's I'll have to check it out. Yeah. Look it up. I've got some invitations out there. This is Susan O'Connor Fraser on Think Local First Radio with her co-host,
Tam O'Connor Fraser.
Fraser. So we're coming up at 2 o'clock is Community Matters. Stay tuned for that. And again, thank you for joining us. And we will be back next Friday from 12 to 2.